Came from the pain and made it out of Banner. Drove and see the nightlife where they call Atlanta. Southside shows for a couple dollars, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live for a very special edition of the Brew Party Podcast. It's episode number 48, and I'm joined by another former Illini. Former, current, still working for the athletic department, whatever you want to call it. It's Beth Prince, outside hitter, Illinois volleyball from 2015 to 2020. Beth, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. This is super cool. I've never done anything like it.
Yeah, awesome. Glad I could be your first podcast experience. That's awesome. I'm super excited to chat with you. Volleyball is definitely something I haven't really talked about on the podcast. I'm definitely excited to learn a little bit from you about the games. So I'll apologize now for any stupid shit that I say or ask any dumb questions. So give us an update on how things are going. Like I said, you were a fifth-year senior last year for U of I. Now you're working in marketing for the athletic department. What are you kind of up to there?
So to be honest, I think the job would be a lot cooler if we weren't in a pandemic.
Right.
It's kind of hard to work in marketing and promote things when nobody can go to anything. So I'm not saying that it sucks all the time, but the part of it where there's nobody here, that part really sucks. So the day-to-day is a lot different than I think what it would be or what it could be, but it's still pretty cool. I've loved my experience here in general. So it was kind of nice that I got to stick around and not have to do anything crazy different in the midst of a global pandemic and graduating college. So it's cool. It's different every single day, but we're just rolling with the punches right now.
So what's that like being in the State Farm Center or wherever it is, it's empty and no fans? Is it pretty dull in there or not really?
Yeah, it's very strange. Like the marketing department runs a lot of the events. And so we'll go and we'll set up for this. And my supervisors and bosses, they're like, yeah, like normally we have to do this, but today this is all we have to do because nobody's coming. And it's like, okay, okay, I guess it's fine. So I'm still like learning, I guess, which was, I obviously wanted to do that, but there's areas that are lacking, but that's nobody's fault. It is what it is.
Absolutely. So what sports are you kind of responsible for then? I know you were telling me women's basketball, right?
Yeah, so I'm like a second on women's basketball. My Gianna O'Connor, who was a gymnast here, actually, she's one of my bosses, and she's first on that sport, so I help her out with that. Same thing. I think it would be a lot cooler if there were people there. We basically do like some crowd noise and music type stuff right now, which is like so lame because you'd definitely rather have real crowd noise. But it's still pretty cool. It's really cool to be in there regardless and be close to the game and all of that. But my sports are swim and dive, track and field, and women's tennis, which are about to get started eventually, coming up. So hopefully that will liven it up a little bit for me. And then I will be commentating on BTN streams for volleyball this season.
That is awesome.
I think that's in the works of being set up, and I am so freaking nervous. I can talk. There's no problem with that. But, I can get super like spastic when I watch volleyball. So it's like, okay, we'll see if I can rein that in.
Well, that's like the perfect color commentator. Do you have any little catchphrases or any go-to things in your head that you're planning on going with for an ace or a kill or something like that?
Gosh, not yet, but maybe. I started practicing last night. I was like, this is harder than I thought it was going to be. So I probably should have some of those in the back of my mind.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, you played volleyball for so long. I'm sure it'll just come naturally, like when you actually get to be in the booth. Speaking of volleyball, are they going to be with no fans at Huff Hall as well?
Yes. As of now, no fans. We're trying to see if that could change, if things get better in our state. But as of now, nothing.
How is the team kind of looking this year? I know. So when you were a junior, you guys Final Four, awesome run, like would you play 3 straight NCAA tournaments? Your senior year, I know you were injured for the first part, so it was kind of a down year for you guys. What are they? What should we be expecting from the Illini in 2021?
It's so weird to think about because it's been so long since they've played, and since I've seen them play, it's hard for me to totally guess. But obviously, I played with a lot of the girls on the team, and I'm excited for them. I think it's different now. Like, this is Chris's first freshman group. They're now seniors, so I think that like it's a big shift. It's a pivotal moment for him as a coach and for the team. And I know, with all of this time, they better have been working hard. I believe that they have been. So hopefully they're going to go out there and do some cool things. I think after the Final Four, it's hard to just like, okay, we just went to the Final Four and then, not get there. That's tough. So hopefully that's all out of the system and they can start building on something new for the coming years.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about your career then. So you were 3-time academic All Big Ten, 2-time Big Ten Distinguished Scholar, Big Ten Outstanding Sportsmanship Award winner, Fighting Illini Spirit Award winner. In high school, you were an absolute beast. You were 4-time All-American, ESPN Freshman of the Year, Prep Volleyball Player of the Year, 2-time Indy Star Player of the Year, single season career kills records at your high school in Avon, Indiana. So let's start here. When did you start playing volleyball, and when did you realize that you were going to be an absolute beast?
I was 12 when I started playing. Maybe 11 was my first rec league game. I was on this team with like 3 or 4 other girls that ended up playing D1, either volleyball or basketball. And we had known each other for a while. We all played basketball together, and we did not win one volleyball game in our rec league volleyball. It's pretty embarrassing. And the next year, a bunch of us tried out for like the actual club travel team when we were 12, and I made the top team. I was awful. I was just really big. I was tall, and I'll give myself, I had potential, but I was not good. But I mean, who is when you're 12?
Right.
But there were girls that had played like competitively before that I joined them, and they were like, what? Like this sucks. So, and I, it's not like they were like terribly mean to me or anything, but I was like, I want to be good. So that summer after my 12th year of club, I trained the entire time, like private lessons and like whatever little camps and clinics I could do. My mom literally was like back and forth to the gym like every single day. It was nuts. And then all of a sudden I was good. It was very weird. I was like, oh shoot, like I'm good at this. And then in 8th grade, I got my first like recruiting letter. I think it was from Wisconsin, ironically. My mom would remember. She didn't. Hey mom, sorry if I got it wrong. But yeah, and it was kind of like, oh shit, like maybe I could play college volleyball. Like it was nuts. And at that point I was still playing basketball. My mom played basketball in college. So I kind of thought that that's what I was going to do up until that point. And then I kept getting better, I guess. And I got more letters. And I was like, oh shit, like, okay, I'm going to do this. So
was basketball your first sport then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Center, I'm assuming, power forward or?
Yes.
Yeah.
I normally was a center, like a post player, but I always was better when they let me face the basket. When I was like posting up like with the basketball behind me, once I got the ball, I was like, I don't know where I am. So who knows? But if I had time and I could get up to the high post and look at what I was doing, I was all right. I was decent.
Nice. Well, I mean, you were pretty decent. I mean, in high school, all conference and all county for Avon. Was there any thoughts of maybe going to play college basketball or at that point were you just fully committed to volleyball?
When I was younger, for sure, basketball was in the mix for me. But at that point, once I was in high school, it was pretty much dedicated to volleyball. When I was, I think, 14, I was either 13 or 14, I did travel for both sports at the same time. And we did 1 year of that. And my parents were like, okay, girlfriend, like, I'm sorry to make you do this, but you gotta pick. And that's when it was like, okay, I'll play school basketball and club volleyball.
I'll play school. I'm not here to play school, Cardell Jones. So tell me a little bit more about your recruiting process. You said 8th grade, you're getting your first letter. When it came down to it, obviously you pick Illinois, but what other schools were there in the mix? Were you fully in on the Illini from kind of the jump, or were there any thoughts of heading somewhere else?
I wanted to commit to Texas when I was in 8th grade, and my parents would not let me. So I definitely was looking other places. I ended up, my top 3 were UCLA, Texas, and Illinois. So, I mean, it was basically like, here's a map of the United States and throw 3 darts and like you're in random areas. I don't know how that happened. But I ended up, Texas, I visited again. I was like, I just don't think it's for me. And then in UCLA, their coach, Mike Seeley, I really, really liked him. And I found myself thinking, oh, I really like this guy because he's like Kevin Hambley, who was the coach at Illinois when I committed. And I was like, well, if I like him because I think he's so similar to Kevin, I should probably just go play for Kevin. So that's what ended up happening. It worked out really nicely that I have family and really, really close family friends that live in Charleston, Illinois, and like grandparents. And I grew up there many of my weekends, and then more family a little bit more south. So it kind of worked out nicely that was a school that everybody in my life knew and rooted for. And at the time I didn't really know that. So it just was a nice bonus, I guess.
There you go. That's awesome. That's such a great story. So speaking of Coach Hambley, so you redshirt your first year and then your redshirt freshman year. After that, he ends up taking the job at Stanford. What was that kind of transition like? I'm always curious, we see coaching changes across college sports all the time, but like from a player's perspective, like what were you guys thinking?
It was nuts. I mean, we didn't really know that was a thought. Kevin had been around for quite some time for like there was nobody else at Illinois when I was being recruited. So I didn't think that was a possibility, I guess. And we had a super small group that spring that he left. There was only 9 of us. And one Monday, our assistant came in and they were like, we're not going to do what we scheduled today. And we had this like super fun practice and we were like, woo, like party. Because the spring is hard, hard practices. And we were like, cool, like what a fun Monday. Had no idea. And as soon as like time was up, it was like, okay, go downstairs, go in the locker room, like meeting like right now. And we were like, okay, like what's the deal here?
Yeah.
And like Kevin walked in, like after we all sat down, he was wearing like, I remember it so vividly, like this all black outfit. It was so like dramatic looking. And on the way downstairs, I was walking with Jordan Poulter, who now she's one of my best friends. She's on Team USA and she's a stud. Yeah. And she was like, what if Kevin's going to Stanford? And we were like, like just giggling because we were like, there's no way.
Absolutely.
But we knew the job was open, obviously, but he was like, guys, I'm going to Stanford. And we were like, oh, okay. And, he, offered us room to ask questions. And there was really, like, none of us had anything to say. We were just kind of like, okay, well, we all came here to play for you, so that sucks. Like, he was like, I know this sucks. I know it hurts you. And we were like, yes, it does. It does indeed.
Yes, Kevin.
Yeah, exactly. So he left and he was like, if you guys want to talk, whatever, I'm in town for however long. And then our athletic director, Josh Whitman, was in there and he was like, I'm here for you. Like gave a nice little speech. If you've ever heard him speak, he's a good talker. He was very nice in that situation, but nobody had anything to say. So Allie, Best and Allie, All-American, one of my close friends again, she just goes, okay, can we leave now? And then he was like, yes. And so we all just walked out and that was that. And we were like, well, now what do we do? We don't have any coaches. We don't know what's going on. We kind of just spent a week of like, are you transferring? Are you transferring? Like, it was just this back and forth. Like, oh, well, like if she's going to transfer, I think I might transfer. Like this whole thing. And I pride myself in saying after about 24 hours, I was like, I'm not transferring. unless like Satan himself comes to coach this team. I was like, I love it here. I don't want to leave. Like, I have all these great people in academics and like nutrition. Like, I have all these great people supporting me no matter what. So unless I really hate whoever comes in, I'm gonna stay. So
yeah. So what was that?
I was like, he's cool, and we stayed.
What was that transition like? I mean, so I'm not super well versed in like the strategy of volleyball, I would say. Is there like one specific system you guys are running under Hamley? Was this like a completely learning something new with Thomas, or was it pretty similar?
Yeah. So from what I have experienced, a lot of coaches have different ways of teaching and different expectations for every single skill. And then they put those skills into a system. So you can have like 5 different ways to coach passing and a million different ways to coach setting and blah, blah, blah. And then make a bunch of different combinations in combination also with just like, what's your speed? What do you want your offense to look like? What do you want your defense to look like? So yeah, there's a lot of different avenues that people can go. And I've even like sometimes head coaches, assistant coaches, like they all have to get on the same page because they've all been taught different ways and they have to decide, okay, what do we think is going to work for this group of girls? So it's definitely different. When Chris came in, one of our assistants at the time, Jason Mansfield, he stayed. So it was nice to have that consistency. Right. He was our passing defense coach, which is a pretty staple thing in the game. You gotta pass. Yeah. So it was nice to have that consistency, especially in that first year. Because Chris did change a lot about how we blocked, how we defended, everything. It was different. Right. So it wasn't too much, like that wasn't unexpected, I don't think. I think we knew that would happen. And it was nice because, like I said, we only had 9 girls. So right. We each got a lot of individual attention to kind of fix the things that he wanted to fix. So it was a wild ride, but we came out of it alive.
Did that help that transition go smoother then? I'm assuming then you're having more attention personally. Like, did that help the system kind of set in and you guys kind of got it quicker than you may have? God, I can't talk. With if there were maybe a full roster.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really thought about that before. Every time I think about it, I'm like, that was small. I don't even think about what it would have been like if it was so big. But yeah, it probably had a lot to do with it. I think small position groups, like if you bring in your outside hitters and you have 3 of them, it's a lot easier to get through to all 3 of them instead of if you have 8. So yeah, I think that probably really did make a big impact on all of us.
So if we jump back to so when you came to Illinois, you took your redshirt freshman year, what would you say is like the biggest adjustment you had to make coming from, that high school and AAU volleyball to now, playing in the Big Ten, playing in the NCAA? How different is that game?
It's way faster. The serve and pass is insane. Like it's so weird. And people told me this in club. They're like, they can serve the ball like where you're going. And I was like, it's cool. Like I can handle it. No, no. These girls can serve and pass. And it's very hard to make people pass poorly. And that's your main goal every time you're serving. And it's a big battle. And then once you get past the serve and the pass, the actual offense is quick and it gets quicker and quicker every single year. Like I was practicing for my BTN streams last night. I was watching volleyball and I was like, oh my gosh, like it's so fast. So that is, and I think everybody struggles with that, especially like blocking wise and being like, oh my gosh, the ball's already over there and I'm supposed to be blocking her and what the heck is going on? So
absolutely.
Definitely.
So for anybody that's not familiar, can you just explain how tough the Big Ten as a conference is? It seems like there's always at least 5 to 6 teams ranked. When you guys were in the Final Four, wasn't it 3 Big Ten teams or
2? There's 2.
2. So can you just explain how tough it's? I almost want to compare it to the SEC in college football.
Yeah, Big Ten volleyball is the best volleyball conference. I'm not saying that we're always going to have the national champion, but like we do a lot. And I think that that's pretty cool. And it's pretty standard that 2 teams from the Big Ten are in the Final Four. Like that's not crazy uncommon. And I think that speaks, you know, to the history and the strength of Big Ten volleyball in general. And it's dogfights every night. Like when we play at Wisconsin and then we play at Minnesota the next night. Like, damn, like that's hard. And that might be 2 5-setters. That might be get your ass kicked 2 nights in a row. Or, you know, like it's tough back-to-back matches with the caliber of teams in the Big Ten.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was something that, I mean, when I was looking over some of your stats and some of the just quick notes and doing some research, you always seem to show up though against those ranked teams. Like your first collegiate kill was against number 9 Stanford. You had 14 kills in a win over Maryland. You had 19 kills in a win over number 7 Minnesota. 18 kills the next time you played them, or the first time you played them, I should say. So was there, like, in those bigger games, could you feel it? Would you get up a little bit more for those, or would you say, like, going into the game, it's the same for you, you know, mentally?
I wouldn't say that it's the exact same, but I think something that we fight to do mentally is keep it the same, because you want to be steady, but you can't not understand what it means to beat Wisconsin or Nebraska or Penn State. Like it means something. It's a big deal. And a lot of the talk in 2017 with us was kind of just like, okay, we've been on this weird cusp of like these question mark matches that we could beat people that we're not supposed to beat.
Right.
But we'll just chill with, okay, well, they were supposed to beat us. And so, like, what's the difference there? And I think for us, that was kind of elevating where we were mentally and hyping ourselves up a little bit and be like, okay, like, we deserve to be here. We're in the Big Ten. Like, come on, we can. And if we're not going to win, like, let's lose in 5 sets. Like, let's push this team and like prove that we are someone the other teams should be fearful of.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so 2017, so you guys make the Sweet 16 in the NCAA tournament. You come up big against Washington, 12 kills in Seattle. You guys get the win. Can you kind of walk me through what that whole experience is like, the ups and downs of playing in an NCAA tournament game, a winner go home scenario?
Yeah. We weren't supposed to win those matches. You know, we came in big time underdog. We weren't supposed to keep going. And I think it was a little bit of screw it. Like, we're going to freaking win.
Yeah.
And then it was also a little bit of on my end, like when I look back, I was so naive. Like, I did not even totally comprehend that we weren't supposed to win. Like, I was like, we just freaking rock. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, it was this total like jock, like so annoying, like gross swagger thing for me in my head that year. I was just like, fuck it. Like, like, I did not understand until we won that we weren't even supposed to win. So
you have to have that though. Those make the best athletes. Like, I just saw a comparison over the weekend. They were talking about like backup quarterbacks in the NFL that come in and they don't really know they're supposed to suck, and they come in and they just ball out. And not saying that you guys were supposed to suck at all, but that's just kind of what I'm hearing here. But yeah, you have to like build yourself up like that, have that cockiness. And I think you definitely should have. You had multiple games with 20 plus kills that year as well. 26 at Michigan, 25 against Colorado. Did you know you were feeling it in warmups before both of those games, or was that kind of just like it just kind of happened? You know,
volleyball is funny because it's like if you had a bad warm up, you're like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like, and like it's funny in general because it's like next point, like it's so, and that's so true. And I'm making fun of it, but it's very important to like the momentum of the match. But like if you have a bad warm up, it's like whatever, it's just warm ups. But if you are like killing it in warm ups, it's like, oh, you had a great warm up, dude. Like you're gonna play so well. Like the back and forth of that, it's like kind of hypocritical.
Right.
But I would say I don't remember specifically, but if I had a great warm up, I'm sure it was like, yes, like look how great you are, look how warm you are, like you're gonna kill it. And if I had a bad one, I was probably like, whatever, it's just warm ups.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there a specific match from that year that really sticks out to you, 2017, that maybe you felt that you guys were, you know, turning the corner and setting yourselves up for that awesome season in 2018?
I think when I think about piggybacking those 2 years, it is those 2 tournament games in Seattle. Because 2017 was just like a blur, because at the same time I knew that we were like not the best of the best, but I was like, we were pretty good, you know, whatever, we can do it.
Yeah.
So then once we won those games and I realized that we weren't supposed to, even though I had no idea during, I was like, oh, like this is really cool. And then we played and lost in the Sweet 16. And after that, me and a couple other girls were like, we've never played an Elite Eight. That's kind of messed up. Like we should, you know, we could do that, right? And then we got beat down in the gym all freaking spring. It was a tough spring. We got torn down to our bare bones and built back up. That's what our staff did to us. I can't thank them enough because it obviously paid off. But we worked really hard that spring, really hard that summer. We can't have coaches in the summer, so it was just us in the gym, and we worked really hard. It was the best summer that I had experienced in my time. And so going into preseason, it was like, okay, I have never experienced like that consistency in the weight room, in the gym, all of it, just of the hard work. Like, let's see what happens next. And we came in that first day preseason, and it was like fundamental for 7 days. And then it was like, okay, go time, let's play. And it was crazy competitive, and it was different. And you could tell that we had put in a different kind of work all spring and summer. So we knew it had potential. And then we started that year, and we were going to 5 in pre-conference, and we were like, okay, like let's figure out what we're doing. And then we got it on track, and we made it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were on an absolute tear. I mean, as far as like kills go for your career, you have over 800 kills. So for somebody that's maybe a young volleyball player that, you know, playing that position, outside hitter, what would you say the key is to being so effective at scoring those points and, you know, getting the ball past the defense?
Being an outside hitter is hard because you get the sloppy balls too. Like you're not like, if you're out of system, you're going to get some bump set thrown up to you from way across the gym, and it's going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm blind, like staring up, like waiting for the ball. And it's tough. And like, you have to accept that that is the life you are living before you can do anything else. Like you have to know that you're going to have to be able to take care of the trash balls, to be honest.
Right.
Because I mean, yeah, it's great if you're in system and you can like score and score and score and score. But as you get older and the serve and pass gets tougher, you're going to be out of system, and you're going to have to take care of that. So I think that's something that is a little bit underrated when you're younger, because it's not fun all the time. I shouldn't say it's never fun, but
yeah,
it's not always fun when you get the crazy ball flying across the whole entire court. But like that kind of stuff, like being good at the little things and being able to keep those balls in play and even score or get the other team out of system in that kind of situation, I think is huge. And then when you do get the opportunity where you're in system and the ball is set to you, go for it. And like, don't be afraid of the block. We always are so afraid of the block, but it's like, you can score so much if you just hit it off their hands, you know?
absolutely.
It seems counterintuitive, but just adding more shots and different things to your arsenal, really. Like when you're young, it's just like hit ball to ground because that's exciting and everybody thinks it's cool. But that's not the only way to score. And especially as an outside hitter or a right side hitter, you have to have other weapons in your arsenal.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's it like playing at Huff Hall. I've always thought that that's such a cool venue that they still are able to use. You know, maybe not as updated or as modern as other places you've played, but they pack the house there to come watch the Illini play volleyball.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what the environment in there is like?
Yeah, it's awesome. It was one of the things that drew me to the program as a recruit. It's so packed. The fans are so close, which isn't technically the standard anymore. If you build a volleyball gym, you have to have more space. So we're lucky that we get that, because it's really cool to play with your people and your community that close to you. Like you said, it's not the newest.
Yeah.
It's a little dusty, some creaks in the floor and everything, but it's really, really awesome. I mean, to play an 11 a.m. match and have it packed to like the back corner, like you're looking up and people are behind pillars. They can't even freaking see, and they're there to try to watch us play volleyball. Like it's incredible to like see that many people there to support us. It's really, really awesome.
So what are some of the other places in the Big Ten that you would say are pretty tough to play that have pretty raucous environments like Huff Hall?
Penn State they're always packed. They always have a very big student section. The difference between Penn State and Huff, though, is like their gym like is long. So they're like surrounding you on sidelines, but then if you look to the baseline, there's kind of nobody. So to me, I was always kind of like, oh, that's nice. Like, look over there. There's not this giant sea of people yelling, "We are" in your face.
Yeah.
So that's kind of Penn State's really obviously amazing though. But Wisconsin is always rocking. You can't deny it. They're always jumping around in there. I like Minnesota's a really weird place to play because it's packed, but it's not like crazy loud. But there's always a lot of people, so it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But I think Wisconsin is probably my favorite place.
Favorite place to play.
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about, 32 wins, Final Four run. It has to be absolutely magical. So me personally, I've never been on a team that dominant. So what is that like to go in to each game? I'm sure you guys were like, we're going to win. I'm sure throughout your career, that's what you wanted your mindset to be. But I mean, even more so this year, that had to be just an absolutely amazing feeling.
Yeah. It was like I said earlier, it was like we would have these matches where it's like, well, we're not supposed to win.
Mm-hmm.
We're walking into Nebraska and it's packed and they have the light shows and the coolest, newest court and this, that, and the other. And it's like, yeah, we're not supposed to win. And then in 2018, we walked in and we're like, we're ranked higher than them, guys. Like, this isn't your last few years of Nebraska volleyball is just better than us. Like, that's not what it is anymore. Like, the people apparently say that we're better. So let's freaking win. Let's beat Nebraska at Nebraska. Like, what? It was weird. Like having that moment, like going, oh my God, we're like ranked higher than them. Does that mean we're better than them? And then going, hell yeah, it does. Like, let's go. Like, for a second, you're like, oh gosh, we don't deserve that. Then you're screwed. So it's kind of just like, all right, time to own it.
Absolutely. Hell yeah, it does mean you're better than those corn huskers over there. So you guys make it into the tournament. You have that deep run and you get to play most of your games at Huff Hall. That had to be incredible because you were dominant. I think you guys only lost 2 sets in the first 4 tournament games.
Oh, I don't remember.
I'm not sure, but it was something like that. It was like 3-0, 3-1, 3-0, 3-1, I think. So what was that whole just run like? It had to be magical. I mean, throughout the year, you guys just knocking off everybody. You only lose 4 games. Then to get in the tournament and find out, hey, we have home court advantage here. That had to boost the confidence up like even more. Yeah.
So that year, the selection show was very strange. We knew that we were really good at that point, but they released like the top 4 seeds before the show, but they just didn't tell you the order. So we knew before we watched at Chris's house. We knew before we got there that we were going to be hosting because that's just how it works. So it was like, oh, sick, like cool. And then once that got done and we knew what our path was going to be, we were like, oh my gosh, like we don't have to go anywhere. Like that is so nice. Like the year before it was, okay, we're going to Seattle, and our director of ops, Andy, he was like, okay, like gotta go get a plane, gotta go do this and da 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 da, like right as soon as we find out. And so in 2018, Andy was like, oh great, like don't have to plan the travel. Obviously there was still a lot of things to do, but but didn't have to do all of that. And then on our end, it was like, you know, school's finals and like term papers and like things like that start to pick up during the tournament. So it was kind of nice to not have to miss like 4 days of class to get across the country, basically.
Right.
So that was super awesome. And that's all just like bonus on top of the fact that it was like, yes, we get to play at Huff. We love Huff. And like we had over the course of that season, just more and more people were coming and just packed. And we knew that the community was going to be really excited, probably more excited than we were. So we knew it was going to be rocking. And then, you know, we have to play an 11 a.m. game and it's rocking. And it was sad after we won, because it was like, oh, like it's really awesome we're going to the Final Four, but damn, I wish I could play here.
So what was that experience like in the Final Four? Like a packed arena against Nebraska, conference foe. Like, what is there anything like that? Had you ever experienced any feeling like that going into that Final Four game?
You know, I played in quite a few state championships.
Yeah.
I was nothing compared to this.
Yeah.
At the time, it was everything, obviously, and it was a big arena and all of that. But after playing in a Final Four with all of the bells and the whistles and all of the free Nike stuff that we got, so glad we're in Nike school.
Yeah.
It was insane, and it was like the craziest week. I blacked out. I don't remember any of it. It was nuts. It was finals in a hotel room, and then 4 hours of media, and then 4 hours of, not really 4 hours of practice, but like what seems like this crazy long practice, because you're spending so much time going, oh my gosh, like where am I? Like the ceiling is so high in here, and like all that kind of stuff. It was nuts. And then all of a sudden, you know, sadly we lost, but then it was like, okay, I guess it's over now. Like,
right.
It just happened so fast.
Absolutely. That just had to be magical, and just such not a good way to go out, because you still had your last year, but just incredible, because, you know, you're building for that, the Sweet 16. You're like, okay, we need to make an Elite Eight. Okay, we're at the Elite Eight. Fuck it, we're going to the Final Four.
Yeah.
So you move on. It's your senior year. I know you get injured at the beginning of the year, and then you come back. What was that like, you know, finishing out your career? You know, not as the team was not as heralded as they were the year before, but you still finished with a winning record and had to feel good to be able to be healthy and be out there.
Yeah, for sure. It was hard. I hurt my ab, which I had never hurt an ab before. And like, you use those things for everything. I was like, breathing hurts. Like, that's just like so messed up that I can't breathe without pain. So those, they take a while to fix. So it was hard for me in my last year to miss really any time, but like specifically the period of time that I missed, since it was in the beginning. It's like pivotal for like culture and communication standard, you know, on the court, off the court, that kind of stuff. And, you know, I spent 2 hours of practice like doing rehab, basically. Like I was in the gym, but I wasn't involved or like as involved as I would have liked to have been, obviously. So that was tough for me. And I don't think I really realized it until I got back, because I was like, oh, like the foundation is here, and I didn't really help build it as much as I probably would have if I would have been full go. So that was tough. It was really not fun. And I mean, for the beginning of the season, it hurt so bad. I was like, I'm done playing volleyball. Time to mourn the career, never playing again. Like I thought it was done. Yeah. So it was, conversely, it was really nice once it was like, oh, like I can do this again. Like I didn't think I was going to get to end my career on my own terms. So being able to be full go and like play again, even though it was obviously less than I had in the past. It was like, okay, this is nice that I actually can put on a jersey and hit a ball and not feel like I'm dying. So
Yeah, absolutely. So you said, you when you first got hurt, there was, thought the volleyball career is over. I'm not super familiar with like the professional volleyball scene. Was there ever a thought of you trying to go pro? Like, I'm not really sure. Is there a league here in America? I know there's a lot overseas, correct?
Yeah. So overseas, there's a bunch of leagues. They're actually starting an American League in a few weeks in Dallas. It's going to be like a 6-week thing, a bubble situation. Allie Bestinelli, who played here with me, she's going to go play in it. So everybody watch that. Allie's going to play. It's going to be awesome.
The bubble is what they should call it.
Yeah. She loves puns. Allie loves puns. I'm going to text her after this. She would love that. But yeah, she's going to go do that. So hopefully that goes well, because I think it would be really awesome if we could have more pro indoor volleyball in the continental United States.
Right.
But as of now, no. I mean, and when I was probably in my second or third year here, I was like, I don't think the pro thing's for me. Yeah. When I asked me when I was 14, I was going to be like, I'm going to be an Olympian until I'm 45. So things changed.
I know like sand volleyball is a relevant thing. Do you ever get down in that?
Not well. It's so hard to move in the sand, so hard to jump in the sand. Sometimes in the summer, like we'll go play sand instead, like a couple days a week. Cause and you have to have really good ball control. And so it's good. Like it's good for indoor players to play sand, but like sometimes we would go and I was like, is this good? Because like every time I touch the ball, the play is done because I cannot jump. I cannot get there. Like it's so bad, but it was fun. But I can't do it competitively ever.
Right. I was going to say, like, I know my friends and I would definitely have a couple beverages and go down to the 6-pack. Like, would the volleyball team, you guys ever just go, hey, you guys want to go fuck around and like beat some ass over at the 6-pack?
I think that we probably could have done that, but I don't think I would have been involved. That's how bad I am. That's how bad I think I am, at least, like in the sand. There was one summer where like 2 days I was like, I'm getting better at this. And then it was gone again. So not for me. I think it would have been like one of those things where whoever's playing would have been like, oh, like volleyball team's here. And then they would have been like, oh my God, they suck. Like that's the volleyball team. So I should say that about everybody, but some of us were really bad.
That's funny. I mean, that makes sense. It's just completely different from what you're used to. That sand, I can definitely speak to being hard to move in, not because I'm super unathletic. That's besides the point. But so I got a couple more questions for you, then we'll close this out. So one, to close out like kind of the volleyball, or actually a couple. Do you have like one moment that's like the most memorable for you, like from your career at Illinois, that like really sums it up? Or I'm sure there's too many to count, but is there one that sticks out more than others?
We have to go with the obvious answer, the kill to get to the Final Four. I like still can't believe that was me sometimes.
Yeah.
Like obviously volleyball is the ultimate team game, and like there were a lot of points scored up until that point, but like the fact that I just happened to be the one, we happened to be in that rotation, and it happened to work out that I was the one that got the kill is freaking nuts to me. And like turning around and like seeing the faces that I saw and like the girls running out and the coaches, like everybody's freaking out. Like that was insane. Yeah. And I will never forget it. I can only remember that part because then I blacked out again. I don't remember anything else. But that like 2 seconds, I will never forget it.
I rewatched that video today and I was like, holy shit, that was awesome. That's definitely has to be your number one. So here's another interesting question I have. So as an outside hitter, I mean, you get kills, you get blocks. I'm sure you serve sometimes as well. What's the best feeling in volleyball? Getting a kill, getting a block, or a service ace?
Getting a block for sure. Because like every attacker is trying to like fool a blocker in some way, and every blocker is trying to fool an attacker. Like, I'm going to put my body over here, but I'm going to put my hands over here, and haha, you can't see him, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's doing it all the time, and when you win as the blocker, it's really awesome. Like the straight down stuff blocks, like freaking, oh, it's the best. Like, and watching your teammates do that, it's the best. And when you get blocked like that, oh, it makes you feel terrible. You're like, shit. Like I really messed that up. So I would say a block.
That's awesome. So what is your favorite campus bar at U of I? Where was your hangout when you were still a student?
Old Cams.
Old Cams. Have you been to the new Cams yet?
I have. Have you?
Yeah. No, I haven't. Is it?
It's very fancy.
Yeah.
I mean, the blue guys still taste the same.
Yeah.
Which isn't my cup of tea, but obviously I had to try. But it's very fancy. It's kind of cool because it has like the firehouse sign like hung up in there, and like Clyde's, and like those bars were super cool too.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that part of it, but it just doesn't smell right. Smells a little too clean.
Is the floor still sticky?
No, they're not sticky enough. They're not sticky enough. I think there's potential.
Yeah.
But since it's not, made out of that like nasty tile and everything, I just don't know. I don't know if it'll ever get there.
Hashtag not my cams.
Not my cams.
No, not sticky floors. We don't have overflowing toilets in the bathrooms.
Right. Yeah, the bathrooms are way too nice. I am like, what? Like, this is high class. Like, crazy.
It just doesn't go well. Well, Beth, this has been so fun. I've had an absolutely amazing time. I'm so glad that you were able to join me. I have to give a shout out to my guy, Billy, Austin Billimack. Your classmate in your graduate program was able to connect us and help you get on the program. So Beth Prince, ladies and gentlemen.
I've got two things I got to say.
Beautiful.
First, we have to give a shout out to also Hayden Hinton.
Yes, Riley is on the team. Yes,
because Riley's on the team, and also I was told yesterday that if I said shout out Hayden Hinton, he would give me $5. So
Hayden, you better hold. Yeah, I'll hold him to that. I'll text him right after this. As Beth wants her $5. Venmo, Cash App, drop that. Or if you need it liquid, I guess we can make that happen.
Perfect. Second, what's your favorite campus bar?
My favorite campus bar, I think it's Cam's. Yeah, Cam's or Legends. Good big cup Friday at Legends is pretty fun.
Have you been to the new Illini Inn?
Yes, I love the new Illini Inn.
That's my dad's favorite.
That's a great one. Murphy's was always a good time. Red Lion when I was like 19 was fun.
There's nothing like that.
And then I really like GSC, actually, Green Street Cafe.
Yeah, that was a late discovery for me, but I was like, this place is awesome.
Yeah, shout out to Dan and Ellie, they are awesome. But I'd say Green Street Cafe. It's like a campus bar, but not, because it's right on the edge of campus, and a lot of townies and people go there. But it is great if you ever.
DP Dough right next door.
You got DP Dough, you got Jimmy John's, you got options. You got options there.
Full buffet.
Absolutely. Well, Beth, like I said, this has been absolutely incredible. Super excited to have you on. All-American, ESPN Freshman of the Year, Final Four participant, Big Ten All-Academic, Scholar Athlete. The list goes on. Two-time state champion in Indiana. What are you? You're the GOAT of Avon High School volleyball, right? You have to be.
I don't know. Avon High School volleyball is really good. We got a lot of kids that play Division I volleyball, but I think for a time maybe I had that crown, but got to share it with a lot of other people. We've got a lot of Big Ten volleyballers and other conferences. So,
well, on this show, you are the GOAT. So, Beth, thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully, have you back on in the future sometime. We'll get an update about more Illini stuff, the Illini volleyball season. You're a recurring guest now, so whenever I ask, you have to come on.
Done and done. Perfect.
Beautiful. All right, ladies and gentlemen, episode number 48 of the Brew Party podcast. The video is available now on our YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. and the audio will be coming out on Friday morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Beth, like I said, this was awesome. You guys, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Have a great evening.